Hello, and you are listening to Half Hour History, the show where you might learn something, but we guarantee nothing. I'm Jacinta.
And I'm Luke.
And this time we're talking about Traveller Funerals. So a little bit more of a somber one this time, but still quite interesting, I think.
I've got my box of tissues ready.
Okay, well, is that for crying or...?
Oh, you just completely spoiled the tone of this already. It's serious business.
It is.
Not
it is
jizzy business. I love Tom Cruise in jizzy business.
Jizzy busy. So you might be thinking, what, guys?
And I love him in the jizzy busy.
That's Guy Ritchie's next movie. So you might be thinking, what the hell is a traveller and why are we talking about their funerals?
That is exactly what I'm thinking, because I don't read ahead on this stuff. I'm here to learn, just like the listeners.
Yes.
And,
you're a traveller in your own way.
And I'm already, I'm one of life's travellers, but I'm already feeling a little bit nervous about this one.
Okay, well... Travellers, the most common terminology that people will know them by will be gypsies.
I'm out.
But many people do consider the word gypsy to be a bit of a slur, so it's more polite to just not use it and to call that community travellers instead.
Because they travel around.
Yeah, they do. And so there's two kind of main groups that people will be mostly familiar with. We'll do like a little tiny bit of traveller history before we go straight into the funeral stuff. So
I think, with this show being a half hour of history, it's very important to get some context here. Because I've got to say, this is an area, and I know a vast amount of things, but I do not know a lot about this because it's one of those things that certainly growing up, and I am a child of the late 70s, early 80s, and I have an English background. And, when you see travellers portrayed in books which were probably written in the 50s, 60s, it's a whole bunch of weird stereotypes.
Yeah,
so
very negative.
I'm not very familiar with the truth of it.
Yeah. So,
it's Captain Haddock going, bloody gypsies in the field, get out of here, you're stealing all my newspapers.
Yeah, absolutely. So, two main groups that people will probably be most familiar with. So, the Romani or Roma people, which are kind of European continental, which is like Esmeralda from Hunchback of Notre Dame, who was French Roma. Or the group of, like, Irish travellers, which obviously in Ireland and through the United Kingdom. And that's similar to, like, the Brad Pitt pikey character from Snatch. Now, I cannot see a character like that ever getting the green light these days. Because while everyone in Snatch was a fairly exaggerated kind of character, pretty racist.
Yeah, and it's really weird with these things because I think a lot of that sort of racism or stereotyping comes from not knowing about something and being so far removed from it that you feel like, oh, this is so alien to me. It's okay to kind of joke about this and to say that. But then you end up on the wrong side of history.
Yeah.
I think that sometimes because, like, we'll make fun of, like, people from Rockingham. And then that's, and we're doing it with love.
Yeah.
But there's that idea of, it's such a horrible,
like, essentially you're making fun of poorer, dumber people, and that's a bad thing.
And you go, that's going to be the case throughout history, isn't it? Where anybody that you think is okay to make fun of, you just can't. Like, you will always be on the wrong side of that. We're always going to become more and more enlightened, hopefully. God knows what's happening in America at the moment. But, So, yes, I love these people. Don't know anything about them. But by crikey am I willing to learn.
Yeah, there was a more kind of modern depiction of the Irish travellers in that... what was it called? Trespass Against Us, that Michael Fassbender, Brendan Gleeson movie. That was a cool movie, and that was sort of a more modern, realistic take on, that sort of community.
That lifestyle.
Yeah.
No roots. Lots of bricks.
And like this group, all of these groups have been persecuted minorities for a few hundred years. So they originally sort of originated in the north of India and then moved across Europe and that sort of thing. And yeah, there's a lot of very negative stereotypes attached to them.
Yeah, like in Hunchback of Notre Dame, Esmeralda is like, you know, just doing a thing, dancing and being awesome. He's got a goat. He's rad. He's like a dog, but he's got horns.
And like does kickflips on skateboards and
And
stuff.
then Frollo, supposed to be a man of religion, and this is a Disney film, and he's like, yeah, I think he calls her the G word, and he's like, you better fuck me hard or you will burn, I'll kill you. And he like even sings about it.
Yeah, right.
It's so hard. He's basically like, give yourself to me so I can have like fun times, turn your tight little Demi Moore body into an amusement park, or otherwise you are going to suffer eternal hellfire. I'm going to put you through hell. And it's like, whoa, hang about. Just wants to dance with the goat.
Hang out with a little goat, yeah. Yeah.
Bloody hell. And that's, you know, abuse of authority, in my opinion.
Absolutely, yeah. Man, white men, God.
Yes.
I don't know what they do. Now, there was a little minor controversy, probably last year, I think. There's a stationery store here called Typo. And they have lots of different, like, notebooks and stuff. And they'll have, you know, like, friendship and love and shit written on their notebooks for, you know, people to buy.
I've got the love and shit one.
Yeah. And they had one that was like, I don't know if it just said Gypsy or Gypsy Life or something, and people just went, holy shit, you can't do that. Like, you can't sell a notebook with, like, Gypsy on it. And so they did, recall them and put out an apology that said, look, we genuinely didn't understand the connotations of that and how it can be, you know, seen, and you know, look, they pulled it and they'll do better and stuff like that. And I was thinking, well, that's kind of interesting-ish, because I didn't think that it would have been that much of a big deal here. Like, if they'd done it in Europe or something like that, then where it's a lot closer to where those people are.
That's my feeling. Like, we're so far away from it that I just don't know.
Yeah, but then I looked up because I went, oh, okay, well, do we have Romany people here? And
you
there's
do
like
research for this show?
I did. It's so crazy.
Holy crap.
And it turns out that there's up to like 25,000 Romany people currently living in Australia, and mostly along the east coast, which is why, again, we probably feel isolated from it because we're not around any of this culture. And many of them migrated after World War II because, you know, if they're a long-term persecuted minority, the Nazis didn't like them very much.
My old flatmate's parents,
Yeah?
they lived in a caravan.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Were they like just grey nomads or?
Maybe.
Yeah. they just felt like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a really, it's quite an interesting kind of culture. My first introduction to it was a reality show probably about 10 years ago. Did you ever watch My Big Fat Gypsy Wedding?
Yes, I did. And this is, and that's probably the closest insight and probably what people would jump to.
Yeah.
Before Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah. So it's, that's Irish Travellers. They're Irish. And that kind of went through, you know, life rituals, courtship, marriage, first communion, all that kind of thing. And it was a really kind of fun, lighthearted look at things, and it didn't always portray them in the nicest light. Like, it was loving, but it was also kind of poking fun a little bit.
You could say that, though, about any reality TV series about any group of people. But there's certainly a kind of flamboyance about everything they did.
Yes,
and
everything is huge.
And some would say, to our minds, a lack of taste.
Yeah. I mean, taste is subjective, but yes.
I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was.
They were getting, like, married in these giant, like, Disney princess dresses and stuff. Everything
and they had, like, LEDs in them.
Yeah.
And, like, it was unbelievable. And how much money and everything they would spend on them was crazy. And so I sort of thought, I found the whole cult, like, quite interesting. Like, the way, like, their courtship rituals were a bit like, oh, this is very
Oh, there was that...
The grabbing.
Yeah, that's right.
The grabbing is very inappropriate and wouldn't go down well outside of that culture. But there is a whole... I watched some other they're on YouTube and stuff like that, other little documentaries you can watch sort of about the culture, and I guess there's a reason they probably focus more on the female culture in this series and the Big Fat Gypsy wedding thing, because the male culture could be seen as a bit problematic by a lot of people. They the boys seem to be really encouraged to be quite tough and aggressive and settle their differences by fighting and all of that sort of thing. So that was a little bit of a wake-up call after the nice fluffy My Big Fat Gypsy wedding, and then going to watch this other stuff and going, oh, actually maybe not. But it's a very it's an interesting culture in that we kind of, especially we're just talking about like Irish travellers mainly, that you're used to, if you see white people, you think white people just behave in white people ways, and this is a group of white people who are like have their own incredibly specific insular culture, and it's strange to kind of tap into that and look at how they live, and it's quite a not secretive, but they're not super into outsiders coming in and poking around their business. So a lot of their culture has remained a bit of a mystery for a very long time. And if anything...
Until now, we've got the exclusive.
We do. I went and lived with some travellers for a month.
Undercover.
It was very, very interesting.
Bought a Disney store Esmeralda costume and went in undercover to get the lowdown. Yeah,
absolutely. So if there is anything in this episode that does kind of interest you, there's a bunch of stuff on YouTube that you can check out.
History's mysteries revealed.
So let's, we're 12 minutes in, let's start talking about the actual thing this episode is about. So, traveller funerals. Like many of these episodes, these will start because we've watched like a TV show or a movie or something that might have been a period piece, and something happens in that we want to then find out more about. And I was watching an episode of Call the Midwife where they had some travellers in that episode. One of the travellers died, and they engaged in some rituals that I thought seemed quite strange. And so I looked it up to see if that was an actual thing that happened, and it was. So thus, this episode was born, because if I found it interesting, then I imagine a bunch of other people would too. So to start off with, travellers are superstitious as fuck about death. Like, so superstitious. So if a person is nearing the end of their life, it's tradition for the community to really rally around the family. So it's both for the support of the family, as you would if anyone was kind of dying, you want to support the family, and also to make sure that they settle any strife with the dying person, like ask for forgiveness if they've done something wrong, or basically just generally make sure that they are in the dying person's good graces, because they are goddamn terrified of that person coming back to haunt them and starting shit. So if they can't get to the bedside, or they're just like particularly paranoid, they'll use like spells and charms to just ward off the bad juju, because they are like not interested in ghost interaction, whatever. Yeah. They are very, very scared of ghosts. And so...
Sorry, I'm being very quiet. I'm just fascinated by this.
It's very interesting. And once the person actually dies, touching the body is really, really discouraged by, anyone in the community or the family or anything like that.
Below the waist, or just in general?
I think just in general.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, very much so below the waist, but in general, yeah. Which is a tradition that's probably stemming from like in the Middle Ages, because back then, if someone died, they probably had something really gross and contagious, like the plague.
You're saying travellers are gross?
Well, I'm saying that everybody in the Middle Ages was gross.
Okay,
yeah. And
but especially...
I never said that.
All right.
And so obviously if you touch a dead body, like you probably get the plague too. And nobody really wants the plague. Like I feel that's the takeaway from that. Nobody wants the plague. And also, if they touch the body too much, the person might get pissed off, come back to haunt them.
And touch them.
Yeah.
When they don't want to be touched. Yeah.
touch them creepily with their icy, dead, ghostly fingers.
Ghost hands. How do you like the ghost shocker?
Yeah.
While you're sitting on the bus. You don't like it at all. Huh?
No.
Now you know how I felt.
Absolutely. So, to avoid handling the body as much as possible after death, because, like in our sort of culture, the person would die and then they'd go off to the funeral home or whatever, and the funeral people would put him in a suit and whatever.
Our culture has no problem with touching the body. Often, someone will puppeteer the body, for the amusement of the family. Yeah, Weekend at Bernie. You were talking about, pop culture references.
Yeah.
Weekend at Bernie's shows, like American funeral rites.
Yeah.
They took the body on a holiday.
They
which
did.
shows a lot of love for Bernie.
Yeah, Bernie wasn't going to come back to haunt them because
No.
Bernie was very happy.
That's right.
Yeah. So, to avoid handling the body as much as possible after death, the person will be washed and dressed in their best clothes immediately before death. So I imagine that's absolutely something that an old chook on their last legs wants to be concerned with. Oh, Nana, you're about to die in about 20 minutes. Come and have a bath. Let me put your nice dress on. And she's just like...
I don't know. I have this feeling, and of course I don't know, but I have this weird suspicion that if you knew you were going to die and you were sort of on that edge, and I imagine if your body's starting to shut down, you're going into that sort of dreamlike in and out state anyway, I reckon it must feel a bit like your birthday. Like there's something sort of a little bit special and exciting about it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Venturing into the unknown.
Yeah, or just everyone's around and there's all this attention and you just sort of know that, something is about to happen.
Yeah, maybe. Sadly, we can't ask anyone.
So, putting on your best strides mightn't be a bad idea.
Yeah, to be fair. And I guess I probably, would want to be looking all right after death.
That's right.
Yeah, you do want to look your best.
Even if you're going to be a ghost.
All right.
You're going to be a dapper ghost.
Absolutely. Because, if you die, then your ghost comes back with the clothes that you were wearing, which is something to think about as you're leaving the house each day.
Yeah, you'll be wearing those clothes forever.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to, go out to the shops in your Tracky Dacks and Adidas jumper and then get hit by a bus, because you're going to be a chav ghost.
Yeah.
Chav ghost!
And you want to go to, all the fancy heaven parties.
Yeah.
Where everyone's wearing, who died, rich people who died in tuxedos. Mm-hmm. And they're like, not in those pants, mate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if the death was sudden and this part of the tradition wasn't able to be completed before death, somebody else would come and do it. A third party like an undertaker or, just some other third party would come in. So the family or the community does not have to touch the body.
And they'd use tongs.
Yeah, they do. The big barbecue ones.
Yeah.
So mourning is a really, really big deal. It's just completely all-encompassing. And until the funeral, family members are not supposed to bathe or shave, comb their hair, or eat or drink anything apart from coffee, brandy, or other liquors.
Sounds like my grandparents.
Yeah. So essentially they're just starving and pissed all the time.
Sounds like my grandparents.
And the body is not allowed to be left alone at any point because, again, the person will get offended and haunt everyone. So a vigil is set up and everyone just kind of takes shifts.
Do you get the sense then that the older people are taunting and threatening hauntings during their last...
I would.
Yeah.
Oh, you would, wouldn't you?
You'd have to.
It's like, go and get me a biscuit or I'll haunt you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so life is basically put on hold until the person is buried because, you're not really going to go to work if you can't have a shower.
No.
You're just going to, just revel in, family connection and community connection at that time. So... once they get to the funeral, it's usually a huge affair. So we spoke about the Gypsy wedding TV show and how everything was quite over the top.
Yeah, I wouldn't use that word that you used, but I know what you mean.
It was the name of the television show, so I think in context is okay.
I call it MBFGW.
Okay, cool. And of course, it's also important to be a huge affair because You don't want the person to get offended by the piss poor turnout and what? Haunt everybody.
Oh, God, you've got this paradise awaiting you, and you're like, no, I'm pissed off about those tablecloths. My favorite color is red.
So in April of this year, the father of reality TV star Paddy Doherty, he was in the wedding show, and he was also on Celebrity Big Brother too, I think. And this funeral was huge.
He was there for a day, and then he travelled away.
Maybe. And so there was hundreds of people at this funeral. Like, it was a big deal. They had a big procession going to the church. His coffin was at the front of the procession in this horse-drawn carriage. And they were really nice horses. There was this pair of piebald horses, and they were draped in the Irish flag, and they had plumes on their head in the colours of the Irish flag. And there was about 6 guys sitting on this horse-drawn carriage, all kind of mugging for the cameras as they were going past. Following on from the carriage, there was 12 silver identical Rolls-Royce cars, which were also sporting Irish colours. I get the feeling this guy might have been Irish. The coffin itself was also in Irish colours at the church service, which, traditionally fairly sort of sombre affairs. Some people might get up to talk and, talk about the person's life and that sort of thing. Here, Irish dances, a little bit of river dance to break up the mood. Then once they got to the proper funeral service, the grave was decorated with these massive floral wreaths. It's such my wreath is bigger than yours. They are humongous, and one was in the shape of a pint of Guinness, as tall as a small child.
I did see these pictures. I don't normally do any research, but you sent me the link, and I got to have a look at the pictures, and it was pretty impressive. It's one of those things where I know, the cynic in you would say, well, there's all this stuff, but the person can't appreciate it. I mean, they're gone. But I think what I realised, when my grandmother died, you realise that it's really the effect on everybody, isn't it? Everyone who's left behind. Comparatively, dying must be pretty easy compared to, that act, that passage, compared to sort of what everybody who's left behind has to go through. So if this is a way for everybody to get together and celebrate and turn something really sad into something that's a bit more uplifting and gives everyone a chance to get together and remember this person, I can see the appeal.
And they had, did you see the picture of, there was a big crown?
Yeah, so big cardboard gold crown or something.
With pictures of him on the side. Yeah, that was crazy.
And he was a boxer. It was pictures of him getting all ready for some fisticuffs.
Yeah, and they released shamrock balloons. They released white doves, and they just went all out. It was just completely massive. It was very, very cool. Obviously, after the funeral and, going on forward, the upkeep of the grave is also very important to continue to, honour the memory and make sure that it's not just, you put them in the ground and then that's the end of it. And because, you want to keep putting fresh flowers and stuff on, because you don't want the person to get angry with you, because what are they going to do? Haunt you.
You're up in heaven, you're having a champagne, you're enjoying yourself, and then this little cherub comes down and goes, pretty piss poor selection of flowers on Saturday.
Yeah, they look like servo carnations.
Yeah, and you're like, all right, fuck this. Go down.
And also the burial itself was quite important, because they believed that, everything came from the earth and everything should go back to the earth. So cremation is not traditionally a goer. It's always burial. And also after the funeral, traditionally at this point, all material ties to the dead would be severed. And in most cases, this means setting everything on fire. So this is what happened in Call the Midwife. The person died, and it was a beautiful. Call the Midwife is kind of turn of the century sort of thing, early 1900s, and
about a fanny doctor.
several funny doctors, and beautiful ornate wooden caravan, like that kind of almost traditional traveller caravan that you might think of. And they set this fucking thing on fire, and this thing was beautiful, and I was like, hold up a minute, that seems a bit, like, excessive. But the caravan usually will be burned with all possessions in it, though, like, crockery and jewellery and stuff like that might be broken or mutilated instead. And sometimes even animals belonging to the deceased might be killed, which seems pretty harsh, but... this is what we do. Horses are the exception to this rule, though, because horses are useful for pulling caravans and stuff, right? And they get rid of everything because keeping a dead person's belongings can result in haunting.
Oh, look, I don't want anyone touching my stuff when I'm gone.
Yeah.
I see this room, you might see it as like a big mess. You might see it as like a rich 10-year-old's bedroom.
I do.
But I see it as a sarcophagus. I reckon, like, if I was to keel over tomorrow, just board it all up around me. And just let me, like, be in here with all my stuff.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, in this case, they would sometimes bury with the person some little things that they might need going into the next life, like some, a little hair comb so they can keep themselves looking tidy. You just want to be buried with all this stuff?
Yeah, I want my Black Widow collection.
Okay. Just Black Widow?
And my Daisy.
Okay.
My Ray. My Ray.
It's a bit creepier if you call it Daisy.
Ray Bay. Which doesn't have a surname yet.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, in modern times... it seems a little bit extreme to just set everything on fire because, people still have lives to live and essentially you're just setting their inheritance on fire. So they'll get rid of the belongings. They'll sell the items to non-traveller people because if you sell to traveller people, then, there's still the risk of haunting. If you sell to non-traveller people, then fuck it, they can get haunted. Who gives a shit? Yeah?
You don't want to be, like, getting your... late father's iPad and it's like, well, these are all just ghost apps. And then like a hand comes through the iPad and grabs you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not what you paid for.
No.
There's no warranty that will help with that. Yeah. And it's also important that when they do sell the things, they're not meant to like massively profit from these items. They're allowed to sell them, but they can't stick it on eBay and hope to make heaps of money because guess what? Haunting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you better hope when you sell off your nan's pop vinyl collection that she doesn't have any, chasers or rares in there because you have to sell them for retail.
Or else, yeah.
Or else nan's going to just come down and just, like, get on your tits forever.
There's a ghost on my tits. Wow.
Yeah, and carrying on with that, they can't. They're not going to mention the name of the dead person after they've died for fear of like invoking their spirit. They don't want to get fucking haunted. Like everything they do is like no ghost, please. And even if the name has been like a family name, they've handed it down to one of their kids, they'd spell it differently or they would like use a nickname when they're talking to the person so they don't anger the dead relative.
Look, dead people, no tolerance for the living by the sounds of this.
Absolutely. Like it really sounds like you've got enough to deal with, like, in
this realm.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, at this point, like, someone's died and you're like, oh, my God, I'm, like, so sad and all this stuff is happening. And you have to, like, second guess every decision you make, lest they come back to haunt you.
Yeah.
Like, you have to do everything in your power to just make sure that they are so happy. They are the happiest dead person in the whole world.
Yeah. I ain't afraid of no ghosts. Not in this instance. That's
not
for sure.
At all. They're extremely afraid of ghosts. And there was some things saying that they can come back, reappear as like wolves.
Right.
So imagine being a traveller person just going to like the zoo or whatever and seeing a wolf and being like, oh, it's Nan!
Yeah.
Like that would just be a worry.
Wolf bites your nuts because you made $10 profit on a teapot.
Yeah.
Crikey.
Exactly. Yeah. It's really a lot of tenterhooks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then don't think I've ever been to a funeral, you know.
I've been to too many. On that note,
Whew.
yeah. So a little bit, again, a little bit more somber episode, but interesting, I think.
Yeah, well, I find, to be honest, like, living as I am, my family's on the other side of the country. I don't have a lot. I love my family. I get along with my family very well, but I don't have weekly sort of family commitments. I'm not religious. I don't have children. Like, ritual, I find very, very alien. Like, when I do go to something and you see everybody, like even a wedding, even like one of our weddings, and I've been to a few different types, and you see people going through these motions and having this like unspoken set of rules that I find that very odd in any situation. I'm just like, why do we have to do it like that?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, funerals again, just in general. I've been to quite a few. Is like they are kind of quite regimented in the way that they're run and how everything is done. And I guess there's less with weddings. You do have a bit more freedom. Like you can have a wedding in a park. Can't really have a funeral in a park. Like you are sort of beholden to that. You
can't bury
your environment.
A body anywhere.
Yeah, not just anywhere.
But you could take the ashes to a park.
You can.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely can. Just not the body.
Not the body.
And it would be after the whole ceremony and all that.
I love Weekend at Bernie's, but it's not practical. You could do that in the 80s. I don't think you could do that.
Times have changed now.
So often now.
Yeah.
Oh, but I don't know. You can put like Granddad in a wheelbarrow with some sunglasses and take him down to the park and occasionally wave his hand around.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't think anyone's going to stop you.
They probably wouldn't, but...
if you do it with confidence.
Yeah. Or if you do anything with confidence, you will get your way. So, speaking of doing things with confidence, we are going to leave with confidence now. You can catch us on fruitlesspursuits.com. All our other shows and bits and pieces will be up there. We are also on Facebook, a group called The Book Was Better FP Cast, something else.
Scarjo a Go-Go.
Scarjo a Go-Go, that's the other one.
Discussion group.
Yes. Yeah.
We should maybe just call it the Fruitless Pursuits discussion group.
Yeah. That would be too easy, though.
That's true.
It's just too simple. These people need to go through a test.
No, the link is on the Fruitless Pursuits page.
Oh, we'll just go to fruitlesspursuits.com and then go there.
It'll be a link. You just link. It doesn't matter what it's called. You just link there.
Yeah. Just go to it and then talk about things. That'd be great.
And if you don't, we'll haunt you.
And yes, if you are interested in finding out about anything else to do with traveller culture, there is a bunch of stuff on YouTube.
The Tintin and Captain Haddock adventure stuff. Go watch that.
Do not listen to Captain Haddock's opinions on traveller people. Yes, lots of stuff on YouTube. It's very, very interesting, very kind of... an alien experience to get a look into this lifestyle. So do check it out. Very cool. We'll leave confidently now. And
it's just interesting to know about other cultures. Like, they would find a lot of things that we do very odd.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a marshmallow of a man.
You can't go too close to fires.
That's
you'll
true.
crisp right up.
I will toast.
Yeah. On that note, we will see you next time. Badonkadonk.